Hi everyone, very warm greetings of the day. Welcome back to our online classes. It's Divya here. In the last class, we have seen the introduction part on what are the basic physical quantities, what is volume, units, how can you measure volume or measuring vessels for volume, for regular objects, how can you calculate volume, and for irregular bodies, how can you calculate the volume of objects. Now in this class today, we are going to discuss about the continuation part, area and density. Today in our class, we will be discussing area and its units, how to find the area of regular objects, how to find the area of irregular objects. Then we will skip on to density, finding density of regular objects, irregular objects and that of liquids. Let's begin with area. Now in your 6th standard, you have already learned area is the surface occupied by an object. SI unit is going to be square meter. You can write it as meter raised to 2 or you will read it as meter square. Now this area is equivalent to area of a square having 1 meter side. Now coming to other units, you can have it in square kilometer, which you can write it as kilometer raised to 2 or kilometer square, and hectare, air, etc. Now relations between these units are given in your textbook. Go thoroughly through that. Next, what we are going to find out is how to find the area of regular objects or regular solids. Now, as you can see it in the figure, you are having square, rectangle, circle, triangle, which are all regular sized objects. Now, here itself you are having equations for finding each regular shaped objects, which means that if the objects are having regular shapes, you can directly find out the area using direct formulas. In your textbooks, equation for finding different regular objects are given. Learn those equations properly. Now, coming on to the next one, the problem arises when the objects are irregular shaped figures, right? So that one you can find it using a graph paper. Let us see how you are going to find out. I think in this figure it is not that much clear. Even then, if you can see a graph paper where you are having an irregular shape that is given in colors, right? Now what you are going to do is that if you are having an irregular shaped object on your hand, you are going to keep that object on a sheet of graph paper. Then you have to trace out the outline of that particular figure into that graph paper. Now remove that object, irregular shaped solid, from that so that you will get some irregular shapes in your graph paper. Next, what you're going to do is that you're going to count the complete number of squares in that graph paper within that outline you have taken. So count that number of complete squares first. Now second step, what you're going to do is that you're going to count the number of squares in that outline, within the outline, which are half and more than half. Now two halves you will count it as 1, and those columns which are having more than half but not completely 1, you can calculate it as 1. Now altogether you can add and write the value together, which will give you the approximate value of your or approximate area of the irregular shape you are having. Now these are all about area, how to find area of regular and irregular solids. Now we are coming to an important section, that is density. Now density, you have already learned about mass, volume, area. Now with respect to that, you are going to define what is density. Density is the mass per unit volume of a substance or a material. That is, in 1 unit volume, how much mass is contained in that, you can call it as density. Now as usual, SI unit of density will be kilogram meter raised to minus 3. Other smaller unit, if you consider, you can write it in gram centimeter raised to minus 3. Now this is the relation between how can you convert gram centimeter raised to minus 3 to SI unit, that is you have to multiply it with 1000. So this is very useful when you are coming with your numerical part, so learn it properly, the conversion. Now density, now you are going to the equation part, that is density is given by mass upon volume, and density is going to be represented using D, mass M, volume V. So in short, D is equal to M upon V. Now, two important things you have to remember when you talk about the mass and volume in finding density. That is, the first point you have to remember is whatever objects of different substances having equal masses, it is not necessary that volume should also be equal. Volume will be different. That is, equal masses of different substances have different volumes. The same way, vice versa also, if the volume of is going to be the same, the substances are going to be different. It is not necessary that the mass there should be equal. That is, equal volume of different substances have different masses. So you are having some experiments or activities with regard to this in your textbook. Read that activities properly. It will be much more clear for you. Now this equation is very important when you are going to solve with your numericals. Now let us see how we can find out the density of regular solids. Now whatever be the regular solids, if you want to find the volume, if you want to find the area, or if you want to find the density, you can use the direct equation. Let's suppose if the regular solids volume, already we have direct equations for finding the volume of regular objects that we have seen in the last class. Now mass for of any object you can find out simply by using a common beam balance, right? Now if the mass is known, volume you can calculate from direct formulas, and density you can calculate it as mass upon volume. So this is all how we can find out for regular solids. For finding whether it be volume, area or density, it is very easy. Now the procedure will come when we come on to finding the density or volume or area of irregular solids. So for irregular solids, how to find out the volume and area we have already seen. Now we are going to discuss how we are going to find out the density of irregular solids. Now to find the density, we know the equation D is equal to mass upon volume. Now mass of any objects, whether it be regular or irregular solids, we can find it out simply by using a common beam balance. Just take the mass, you will get the value of mass. Now the problem is with volume. If the objects are having irregular shape, in the last video, in the last class, we have already seen how to find out the volume of irregular objects by displacement method, right? So with using this displacement method, you are going to calculate the volume of the objects. And then you are having mass, volume. Now very easily you can calculate density with the equation. And those who are having any doubt with displacement method, you can go back to the first video. It is explained in that video very well. You can recollect from that, right? Till now we have been discussing how to find out the density of regular and irregular solids. Now we are going to see how to determine the density of liquids. So as usual, to find the density, we need to find out the mass and volume first, so that we can apply directly in the equation and find out the density. Now we all know that liquids, it cannot stand by itself, since it does not have a definite shape and volume. It always takes that of a container in which it is going to be kept. Now first, to find out the mass, we need to take a measuring cylinder and take the empty weight of that measuring cylinder, which you are going to mark it as M1, right? Now after this, what you want to take is whatever liquid you want to find the density, you want to take it in this measuring cylinder or whatever container, right? Now for that, first you want to know how much volume you should take. So for finding the volume, you will take the use of a measuring cylinder. You can pour that given liquid into the measuring cylinder and you can see the value and note it down as volume, right? Now what you're going to do is that this known volume of the liquid, you are going to pour it into the cylinder which you have already taken the empty mass in the beginning, right? In the same cylinder or in the same container, you are going to pour the amount of liquid given to you, which I have already measured the volume. Now together with that container and the liquid, you are again going to take the mass on a beam balance. That mass you are going to take it as M2. Got it? Now you are having the mass of together cylinder and liquid and that of the empty cylinder or the container you have taken. Now subtract the values, that is the together value of your container and your liquid. From that you subtract your empty bottle value, that is you are going to subtract M2 minus M1, so that you will get the required mass of your liquid alone, right? Now you are having the volume which you have already taken using a measuring cylinder with you. Mass of the liquid given you have calculated now. Now you can directly count what is the density of the given liquid. So this is how you are going to determine the density of liquids. With this, we are winding up today's portion. Thank you. Stay safe.